Alright, new topic, and it's about functions. And no, this is not the same as math functions. Okay, so let's give an example of what functions are. Functions are important in order to eliminate repetitive code in our code. Okay, so instead of writing something a billion times, we can just write it once or call it once. What do I mean by that? Let's say that I have a database of a company, and this company has multiple branches. So let's say this is company branch 1, company branch 2, company branch 3. And it has an employees list. Each has an employees list. Okay, this is employee 1, 2, employee 1, 2, etc., etc. Now, let's say that I have hired a regional manager. Okay, bear with me. Now, when I look up this regional manager, I want to see it in all the databases in every branch. Okay, because he is directing all of those branches. So when somebody looks him up in a certain branch, he should be able to see him in all of them. Now, I know this is a little bit of an exaggerated example, but bear with me. Let's say that I want to add this regional manager to all of those. Let's say that we have multiple roles that need to be included in all of the databases. Now, the way we have learned in order to add something to a database, we would say, let's say that this is my list or database. We would do append, right? And we add the name of the employee. Now we would do this for database 1, database 2, same thing, database 3, we would append the same name. Now imagine if I have around 5 roles that needs to be appended to all of these databases. Well, this is name 1, okay? I would need to do the same thing, database 1.append name 2. Maybe a second regional manager or a second general role. I would need to do the same thing for database 2, 3. All of them are for name 2, right? So I'm going to be creating 3 lines of code every time I want to add a general employee who needs to be added to all 3 databases. Imagine if I have 15 employees like that. Well, 15 employees times 3, this is around 45 lines of code. This is repetitive. This is not right. And here comes what we call functions. Now, a function, if we just define function, let's call it function 1, we could do these db1 append name. We will pass name here. We would do db2 dot append name, and same for db3. Okay, this is a scope which is called function. Now, everything we have written so far, we have written it in a function actually, and it's called main. All the code that we have written, even though it's not visible, it's written in main. Okay, everything. Now, inside this main that we were writing, we would say, instead of writing all of these 3 lines of code, I would only say func1 and pass a name, and I'm done. It will jump to this piece of code every time, and it will do all of those operations. Let's say I want to append a new name. All I need to say just func1 and a different name. Okay, it will jump, take this name, and fill it here for me. Okay, Now let us see how does this work in action. So let us code those functions we have talked about. So as I've told you, whatever we write here, this is main. Okay, so right now let us define a piece of function that we will go to every time we want to execute some code. Let's add that database functions. We're going to say definition add to database. This is the name of my function. You can call it whatever you want. And here is a parameter to pass. We are going to pass name to it. Okay, this is a parameter that we pass to the function so that we can use it in our function. So what do I mean by that? Let's say that this is where we write our function, and here is my main. All right. So if I want to call this function, I would have to say add to database and just pass it a name. Let's say John. All right. This is all I need to do. Then this piece of code will execute and add it to the database. Same thing. I would just do the same thing, and I will say add to database Mr. Hamsho. Okay. It will go and do whatever necessary in order to add it to the database. I don't have to do all the steps every time in the main. Okay, let's see how we can implement those steps. Now, the John here is the name. The Mr. Hamsho here is going to be the name again. Okay, so let us now, just fictionally actually, and I will tell you why I'm saying fictionally, let us define the databases inside my definition. Inside my function. So let's say database 1, which is for the first company branch. It has employees like Kate, Moss, David. Same thing here, database 2. Let's say that it has different employees like Lee, Steve. Okay, and database 3, we have Tony and Laura. All right, now what we are going to say is db1.append name. Same thing for db2, same thing for db3. I'm going to append this regional manager, let's say, to all my 3 databases at once. All right. So right now, whenever I call this function, all of this will be executed. Whenever I call this function, all of this will be executed with the name Mr. Hamsho or with the name John or whatever. Now let us print here. Print db1 is db1 Let's do this for all the others. Now let's hit on start. As you can see right now, we have added John to my database for the first one, and we added Mr. Hamsho to our database. See what functions do? They really save you a lot of coding. If I need to do this regular way, I would need to write 3 lines for every 1 line here. So we have saved around 70%. Alright, but if you have noticed, I added John here, but I cannot see it here when I added Mr. Hamsho. Now, this is what I said. Let's take this fictional example. Okay, it's because these databases were defined inside the function here. And whenever I execute this function and I exit it, any variables will be deleted. So those are like temporary memory. So remember, I call a function. It goes here. It executes everything. Okay. It executes every line. But once I'm done executing, every variable that I have defined is going to be deleted. So this is what we are going to talk about next.